In life, we have many times to talk about things that are important. We also have many times to show who we are in God's house. What's absolutely amazing to me is that I can purchase something to utilize for my life and wake up the next morning and find that it doesn't function correctly. What's amazing is the number of monstrous women who will participate in the violation of a man's privacy rights and of his rights in general. I'm going to tell some stories today that are talking about the mayhem of life. Normally, my program is called The Magic and Mayhem of God, but the problem is I've been focused for the last probably year talking about the mayhem of people. Mayhem is caused by people. Mayhem is not just the name of some ill willed superhero in a comic strip series. Mayhem is what people cause others. I went the other day by bus to a particular place, and what happened was the people on the bus company decided to communicate to others where I was going. This was immoral, it was also illegal. You see, under the Civil Rights Act, we had the right to go places and do things without someone accosting us or interfering with our rights to go places. When I arrived there, I did my quick, efficient shopping as the Lord bid me. And when I got to the register, the man treated me with, well, regard. But within a few seconds of me getting to the register, a white female with white-ish blonde hair came up to the register on the telephone. After I left the facility, several people plied by who had been somewhat hitting on me in the other parts of the community far away from where I was that day. I immediately acknowledged who they were. I told them they were inappropriate in being there, and I left. Now that I go to try to utilize these funnels for my function in my oil work, I find that they leak, which means that that ill-willed woman, that monstrous person, probably put holes in them or scored them so that they would leak. The problem with that is that it ruins people's computers, it ruins people's automobiles, it ruins people's lives, it ruins everything, it ruins clothing, and that's a problem. Monstrous women do all sorts of things that are inappropriate. They participate in illegally and immorally mobbing and stalking someone. The Lord woke me up earlier this morning to watch a police officer drive through the Meyer parking lot and watch him do his little pacing, trying to figure out what he was going to do next to harm a person's life. You see, I've asked the Lord to wake me in those moments, to tell me if I need to leave a property where I find a place to sleep quietly. But while I sit on this property, there's that high pitch that's playing in my ears. And that high pitch is ruining memory, is absolutely true. But who put that high pitch there? Who allowed them to do that was a monstrous woman named Megan Andrews in a facility that is supposed to be for the protection of people from people who are difficult in the community. Instead, they monstrously use it with Muslims to violate people's ears, to violate their minds, to ruin their medical health, and to lie about their rights, to ruin a person's life. In this moment of time, I'm going to also talk about the use of my business program. I've been walking through the community mainly because the monsters of the community took my professional vehicle. Under federal law, they had no right to take a business vehicle that was titled to my business name. Not only did they take my legally protected, federally protected life insurance policies, my social security cards, my bank cards, and all these things by a monstrous woman who is a bailiff called Bailiff Oliver, but they never returned them to me. They never documented them. They never acknowledged that those documents were in my files. There was other legal letters and other ways of protecting my life insurance policy in my paperwork and in my bags, but I never got any of that back because a monstrous woman did not follow through in participating in doing her proper due in her work that day. There was a monstrous woman in the courtroom who lied about her rights to take my rights away based on a lie that she thought she had the right to medicate me and force me to do things that her degree did not really allow her to do. And there are monstrous people who will continue to lie about you and lie about me in their life. The monstrous women of the community also interfered with my right to buy food last evening. I walked my way through a Wendy's food line. I had produced for myself enough money to buy their special that was going on, a $5.50 with tax special. I tried to get in line because they no longer allow the front door to stay open as it once was, where I used to be able to just walk in and say, hey, I need to buy this, and then I could leave. No one ever gave me any difficulty. So I stood in line for a long time. The white car in front of me had a 20-something driver, along with a matronly woman in the passenger seat. There was a moment in time when I thought the woman was going to get out of the car and talk at me, but she didn't, and we got all the way up to the window, and I wasn't able to acknowledge the person in the drive-thru because my physical weight as a walker did not set off the unit, but I've been there before, and I was being honorable to that company and loyal to a company that had sort of helped me to eat in times of difficulty. So I was taking my money, as I should, to the company that was honoring me with ensuring I ate, to go purchase their special. While I was there, the woman didn't talk to me at all. When she was at the window finally, she said she wanted to pay for the person behind her. Well, naturally, the person who was black man working that register presumed she meant the person who had registered their meal. So the Lord prompted me to tell her and to remind her that, well, the person behind me would be the one that she'd be paying for. She acknowledged that no, she wanted to pay for me. Then she started to interfere with my right to eat. She started to describe to the person at the window that I was homeless, which she had not established in any way, shape, or form, despite how I looked, and she started to interfere with my lawful right to purchase food. Not only did she ask me what I wanted, and I practically told her specifically what I wanted, then she started to monkey around with the food that I wanted to eat. She downgraded the meal I was looking for. I had looked for a certain volume of food. She interfered with my right to get ice, which is what I was after. I ended up with water, which is not what I needed. And literally, I didn't get the volume of food I was looking for at all. She insisted on paying for these things, but she only wanted to pay a couple dollars for my meal. Well, I had planned to pay $5 for my meal so that I would have a hearty meal for the evening to last me through the night when I slept, so that I wouldn't wake up in the middle of the morning starving. But instead, she interfered the entire time. And what you know, the matronly manager on duty at Wendy's actually stood there and talked to that woman about my cellular health rights instead of allowing her to leave the facility and drive back around if she wanted to pay for it, or hand me money if she wanted to pay for it, and interfered with my right to even give the proper meal. I told them I wanted the 2 for $5, and they sat there and played like it was a fucking game, as if the woman is the manager of the restaurant did not know what their specials were on the board. I kept saying I wanted the 2 for $5 special with the regular classic chicken, meaning I didn't want spicy food. I find it appalling that we have to suffer through spicy food at most of these fast food restaurants. If people want spices, they can add it on top. I don't like it when it's in the meat itself. But hey, we're placating to the foreigners of the land who live for that sort of stuff, and other people who do. But I would say that the majority of the population probably doesn't like spicy food, and yet we've had McDonald's sandwiches ruined by people like that. But I digress not at all. That these women didn't even care what I was interested in eating by the time it was done. She kept trying to hand me a glass of water. I don't drink water like that for various reasons of being a walker, and I finally just left with less meal, paid for, of course, generously and loving and kind in her mind, but not at all what I wanted, totally insulted, totally degraded, totally demoralized as a man and an adult man who did not need that little 20-year-old woman involved in his life at all. I handed her a page for my own marketing material, hoping that she would possibly eventually listen to what I'm going to say about her fucking life. But the truth is, if she had wanted to honor me at all, she had plenty of time while we were waiting in line to get out of her car and speak with me, and talk with me about my situation, find out if it'd be all right for permission for her to purchase my meal, which she did not ever seek. She just presumed the right to be someone in my life in that moment of time. Now, people do that. They want to do the pay it forward thing that we saw in a film long ago with a young boy who had wanted to pay it forward, and unfortunately, in the end of that film, he lost his life. What a shame that was. But the truth is, the mother went on to continue to play that pay it forward idea of how if you do something kind for someone, then you pay it forward to someone else. And people would do that in drive-thrus where they say, hey, I want to pay for the person behind me. And while that's loving and kind, it takes away a person's right, especially in the case of actually determining what they want for a meal. That was the rudeness that was hit upon in my life. That was the insult that the manager participated in on behalf of that company. What she should have done is said, we'd be happy to receive your money for him if he allows you that right, if he gives you the permission to do that. And I will move myself outside the building, walk around in that for a minute, and ask him what he might like to eat off our menu. Then I will go back in personally and make sure he gets that food. The previous time I had visited, a very large man insisted on giving me more than I asked for in the payment that I was trying to pay for food. I had wanted simply merely a chicken sandwich, and they made such a production out of it. Then they added a beverage of water, which I didn't ask for. They added French fries, which I didn't like because I don't like their French fries. And frankly, it just becomes a fiasco for me. I am a homeless man because of people who lie on my life, who have lied about the rights to attack my life, who have lied about my rights in records, and a woman that I love lied to law enforcement and has destroyed my life completely. It is not her fault how those men have handled those things. It is her fault for refusing to speak to me, for honoring my life when I did so much in her life, according to my late wife, that she could have been blessed for by those moments of time. But she didn't always acknowledge my skills. She didn't always acknowledge my life force, and she still lies to herself because I believe another matronly woman who asked me foolishly in those moments of time when I visited their metaphysical shop what was the name of the person that I was in love with, and I guarantee that not only did she go in there to check out my program, but I believe they gave her a false CD with something underneath and undermasking it, insisting that she hated me. Because the man who ran that shop, the husband of that woman, wanted to do that to my life. He wanted the monstrous control to ruin every opportunity as I had with someone that the Lord had placed in my life. If she doesn't know who Jeff Poe is, that's her own fucking fault. If she doesn't know who Mary Poe is, that's her fault too. But the truth is that the minute that she went in to check out my program, I guarantee they hit her life with that crap. I also believe that the police shut him down, but they took away from him his abilities, or they got him working for them. It is true that there are audio files that are subliminal. It is true that there are registers in life in terms of the animal kingdom that we as humans cannot hear. And it is true that scientific communities have known how to do a lot of these things for the longest predominant time. But when I am here in my own way, working on my own life, I do not need some 20-year-old child of someone else matronly, monstrously interfering with my lawful right to go to any restaurant in the land, to produce income that I have provided for myself, or earned for myself, or gained for myself through social ways that most people produce a life in the sales community, to purchase food that is right for my cellular health. I am not offended that she wanted to pay for my meal. It's a blessing and kindness that she did, but her presumption was that she didn't have to ask my permission, nor did she actually care in the end of that conversation. She was so ridiculous by the time the conversation with that manager was over with that I barely got the food that I needed. It wasn't the same quality of chicken. It wasn't the same depth, if you will, of design in terms of the food I was expecting on it, like lettuce and tomatoes and other things, and possibly bacon that I was planning to own in that purchase. But the reality is that that manager handled things so poorly that I will never probably honor their program with anything I do in my life. I will never suggest their company for purchasing gift cards, and I will likely not go there again. Thanks for listening.